She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Thanks so much for joining us today. Did you know that every 98 seconds, another American is being sexually assaulted? Did you know that out of every 6 women, 1 in 6 women will be a victim of rape in their lifetime? Did you know that those statistics are just based on reported people who actually reported a sexual assault? Who have we become? How is this possible? How can it be that in our modern world, this kind of activity is happening? Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. Today's show is about success, successfully being able to heal from these types of circumstances, from these horrific, painful things that are happening every 98 seconds. I'm actually a rape victim, and I also was molested from the time I was 3 until I was 16. But I managed to overcome. And this show, every single day, is challenging you to get beyond your excuses, to get beyond your past, and design the successful life you want to have. Design it, meaning you define it, and then you design it. And we bring you content and strategies every day to challenge you and to help direct you on what your path for your successful life is. Not what somebody else is going to tell you that it is. We all are designed differently. We're all unique. And we all have advantages and disadvantages from our past. And we all have to get beyond what has happened back there so that we can rise up and be a messenger for those who are still there. Do you want to stay stuck? Or do you want to move past the hurtful things that have happened? Do you want to be one of those old, bellowing, whining humans that's still nursing, cursing, and rehearsing something that happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago? Or do you want to be an inspiration that is challenging the world to step up and do something great with their life? The facts is that when you've been raped or gang raped or you're being sexually harassed, as we are seeing all over the news right now of people in high places that are raping little boys and little girls, people, government officials, highly paid directors and actors, people who we've watched and admired, where all the dirt is coming out, that sexual harassment just kind of seems to be, I don't know, it's kind of a popular thing, but I say no. I say no, this can't be, and we've got to stand against it. So if you have encountered any kind of sexual abuse, we want to talk to you today. And if you need help, or if you have found your way out of the torment of that life, we want to hear what the success is of your story. So we've got Charlie Lancaster from Nebraska. Charlie, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you
Sorry.
go.
Well, I was molested as a 6-year-old by a little boy who my mom took in as a foster boy. It went on for about 4 years. When my mom found out, she protected him, not me.
What?
How
does that work?
She knew that my dad would have probably killed him, so she put him in a boys' home and made me visit him until he turned 18. I thought my dad knew, so that was kind of an added pain until just recently. I learned that he didn't know anything about it, that she had kept that from him all of these years. And so it was kind of a double pain because I felt like this man who I knew would have protected me when I was younger, I felt like he he abandoned me as well. So now him and I's relationship isn't that great. I'm trying to get through that, but we kind of just pulled apart from each other. Wow. I'm pretty sure he didn't realize why I was pulling from him, but I was pulling from him because I felt like he had failed me. You know, he's this big, burly military guy who had told me over and over again that if anything had ever happened to me, that he would, he'd probably end up in jail, you know, and then of course then nothing did happen. So it was just that really utter painful thing. And then my mom encouraged me to meet my biological father when I was 12, because he was actually my stepdad, but I've known him since I was a baby, so he was my dad, you know?
Yep.
But my mom encouraged me to meet my my biological father, so I visited him one summer, and 2 nights into the visit, I woke up with him on top of me.
Oh, my gosh.
And when I pushed him away and got upset, his answer to that was just the fact that I looked so much like my mom. So, yeah. And then, of course, I went through a really long period of time in my life where I was using sex as a way to try to find love, to try to find acceptance. Yeah. I ended up pregnant at 17. And I'm actually just had my 34th birthday. And it's only been about the last 5 months of my life that I've been, I guess, brave enough to try to find a way out of this hole that I have found myself in. Yeah. I have 3 children and a wonderful husband, but I had gotten to the point where I couldn't even find joy in raising my kids because I assumed that they were going to leave me. Yeah. And I was waiting for the day that my husband would drop the ball and say that he was done. I went through most of my teenage years fighting with my mom because she was telling me that I was not enough, good enough. I was a liar, that I was never going to amount to anything. Yeah, so it's only been, like I said, about the last 5 months I started plugging into you, and I got brave enough to start seeing a therapist.
Yes.
And I started opening up to my husband.
Yes.
And I don't know, I'm kind of at that point now where I have this God-sized dream in my heart to start impacting other women who have been in the same situation and children in the same situation. But, you know, my question for you is, when do I start feeling like, I don't know, when does that voice in your head stop telling you that you're never enough? Yeah. And when does that voice stop breaking you down over every little thing? I almost missed my little brother's wedding last week because my anxiety and my fear had overran me because I was afraid of meeting new people and being in a room where I wasn't going to have anybody to protect me.
Wow.
I almost missed that.
Wow. Aren't you glad you went?
Yes. Oh my God, it was the best thing in the whole entire world.
Well, guess what? You already answered it. You already answered it. You just answered the how part. That whatever it is that you fear, you went straight into it. You run straight into it. You see, fear is nothing but a cloud. That's all it is. It's not even real. It's just a cloud. And it usually is just trying to hide a blessing that's on the other side. That's what fear does. Fear hides a blessing that's on the other side. And so there it was. You walked through it. You trusted God through it. So when does the voice stop saying, listen, you know, your and my life is so similar. It's like really crazy. You know, I was pregnant also at 17. I was molested from the time I was 3 till I was 16. And then I was raped and gang raped when I was 21. So I feel your pain and having a mother that doesn't know what to do about it, right? My mom just, you know, was like, oh, he won't do it again. And it happened for 4 more years. So I get that. I get the feeling of being abandoned. And so what I can tell you is that if you really want to be healed and you really want to be whole, this is going to be a journey for the rest of our lives. And this big God-sized desire you have in your heart to help other people who've been through the same thing, That's actually part of your healing. That as you talk about it more, and as you reach out to other women, and as you share your story, more healing comes. The more you process about it, the more you trust your husband to share those deep, intimate things of how it made you feel dirty and how it made you feel useless and how it made you feel worthless. As you say those things, the truth begins to flow also through your heart and your mind. And as you delight yourself in your Father in heaven, because his desire is for your healing, is for your restoration, is for your complete deliverance. And so he wrote in his greatest love letter for us, which is the best success book ever written, the Bible, where he says to delight ourselves in him and he'll grant us the desires of our heart. He also says that we take refuge in him. He also says that he is the faithful one for us. He is our strong tower. He also says to take every thought captive and make it obedient to the word of God. Take every thought captive. And so this is what I did years ago, because I used to battle in my head all the time, Charlie. I mean, battle in my head. Where those thoughts, right? You're useless, you're worthless. Kill yourself. Kill yourself. That would be the thought. Your kids are going to hate you. You're nothing.
Who do I think I am that God could use me?
Exactly.
That's a big one. Who the hell am I?
Exactly. Same thing. You'll never be pure enough. You'll never be good enough. You'll never be righteous enough. You'll never be holy enough. You're just nothing but useless goods. You're worthless. Yep. Nobody wants you, right? I get that, okay? So when I came across that passage, it says, hold every thought. Think about that. Every thought captive. You see, most of us think without thinking. Most of us just think, just like a lot of us eat without thinking about what we're eating. We just eat, right? We just talk without thinking. So it says, take every thought captive and make it obedient. And so here's what it would be. So here would be that thought that would say, just kill yourself. And I would say, okay, Father, if that thought is from you, I receive it fully, and I want you to teach me what it means to kill myself. And if it's not from you, I bind those words right now in Jesus' name, and I cast you into the pit of hell where you belong. Because the Bible says that what we bind on earth is bound in heaven, what we loose on earth is loosed in heaven. That we have the power to receive the words of life and death. So either I held those thoughts captive, so that thought would come in, you're useless. Okay, Father, if that thought is from you, I receive it. Teach me what you want me to know. If it's not, then I rebuke it in Jesus' name. Go back to the pit of hell where you belong. I remember counting 1,500 times in one day that I had to hold every thought captive. Guess what? You're talking to a free woman today who doesn't have those thoughts anymore. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Were you sexually abused and just can't seem to get past it? Listen to Amber's story. It's coming up next on The Dani Johnson Show. More resources, more training, more results. The DaniJohnson.com Insider Membership is your ultimate success shortcut. Get exclusive access to reports, videos, audios, ebooks, cheat sheets, and other training for your personal and professional life. This is truly DaniJohnson.com's best kept secret. Become an Insider member today and get on the fast track to success.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
Did you know you can take The Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
If you've ever wanted to make millions, change the world, be the voice for the voiceless, and have a blast doing it, then you need to spend some time with this lady right here. She's been doing it for years, and she'll show you how. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
I understand pain and suffering. I also understand your mind being controlled by debilitating thoughts, reminders of your horrible past. You know, there are a tremendous amount of men and women every single day who are suffering from the torment of their past sexual abuse. And today we're kind of uncovering the pain of it and then processing opportunities to succeed out of it, that we don't have to stay stuck. In October, 14 million women responded to a poll by Washington Post saying that they had experienced sexual harassment in the workplace. Isn't that crazy? That makes people afraid to go to work. 95% of these women said that the harassment went unpunished. A lot of the reason why sexual harassment goes unpunished is because most of it is not even being reported. Because women and men who've been sexually harassed feel dirty, worthless, useless. And they don't know how to draw a line in the sand that says this is unacceptable. We've got Amber joining us from New Hampshire. Amber, you have suffered from sexual abuse. Tell us about it.
So when I was little, I didn't remember what had happened, but I had just all these like horrible sexual thoughts, like when I was like young, like 4 or 5. Wow. And I just thought I was bad because I didn't remember what had happened, and I knew I shouldn't be thinking those things. So it was a long time, like I just kind of carried that with me, that I was bad because I thought these things. And then as I became a teenager, you know, started sleeping around a lot and things like that, and then started to remember as I got older what had happened. You know, I was, you know, in a lot of just abusive relationships in general as I got older.
How old were you when you became sexually active?
I was 14.
Wow.
So, like, really young.
Wow. Now, were you the pursuer? Or was somebody else pursuing you?
A lot of times it was just, like, I didn't know how to get myself out of those bad situations when I was in them. Like, I didn't know how to, like, really say no. So sometimes I was the pursuer, but sometimes I just was, you know, ended up with a guy, you know, alone.
Wow.
And then just didn't know how to say no, how to stop that. You know, and then that just made me kind of reinforce the idea that I was bad, obviously, because I was, you know, sleeping around. And I was probably my mid-20s. Like, that was one of the first things that I kind of remembered what happened. That was one of the first things that God started to kind of heal me from this. Because he was like, you're not bad. Like, you didn't do something wrong. So that was probably one of the really big things. And I still don't remember who abused me when I was little. I can remember it happening, but I just can't remember who. But just forgiving, just praying for forgiveness for whoever that was, even though I didn't know who that was. And just trying to learn, like, not, like, those, like, the sexual thoughts I had when I was, like, 4 or 5 just, like, tormented me, like, you know, well into my, like, 20s until, you know, I really learned to, like, what you were sharing earlier, to, like, think about what you're thinking. And when those would start to happen, reciting scripture in place of that. And just doing that over and over and over again until, you know, I was kind of free from that, and it wasn't kind of this constant torment of those thoughts in my head.
Isn't that so awesome? You know, the Bible is so powerful. I mean, it says that the word of God does not return void, but it does exactly what it's sent out to do. And that we have that kind of authority inside of us to hold every thought captive and to rebuke those words that are not helpful and beneficial to us, to our soul, to our character, to our future, to the people that are around us. And so many people just allow their minds to be completely badgered and beat up, and they just let it happen. They don't even realize that it's actually happening. It's just these thoughts that are running through. And so I'm so proud of you that you, along the way, that you felt your Father in heaven tell you that, no, you're not a bad girl. And what happens when you think you're bad, you start to do bad things. It's what you believe about yourself. And when we believe we're bad, then we do bad things. Bad according to what society says is bad or what church says is bad or whatever. And then we're tormented with that, right? So, like, did you tell your mom when you're 4 years old, like, I'm seeing people naked having sex? You didn't tell your mom, right?
No, I didn't. Well, because there was a lot of, like, verbal, physical abuse. So I never felt safe in my family. Like, I never felt like there was anyone I could tell. Yep. Either.
So look at who rescued you. Your God rescued you, which is so amazing. And you followed those instructions of holding every thought captive and reciting those scriptures. And today you're free from that, which is amazing. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Be sure to tell a friend about the Dani Johnson Show. It just might be the key to the breakthrough they need. Stay right here for more of the Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your freedom, your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
My name is Andris and I'm from Latvia. Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, I was a struggling English teacher back home. I had a language school that I started when I was 21 and had grown it to be pretty okay in my city. But at the same time, I had acquired a debt of $60,000. In a matter of 8 to 9 months, I got rid of my debt. And by 2011, we had our first $1 million year. This has been amazing. We grew our school from about 100 students to 2,000 students. And I can only highly recommend for you to come to the next event and be part of this community and learn the tools that will help you to succeed.
Prior to plugging into DaniJohnson.com, my family and I were hemorrhaging under the pressures of debt. Since attending First Steps to Success in January of 2014, my family and I have paid off over $147,000 in 19 months. We're completely consumer debt-free. We have restored relationships, and our business is growing at a rate of 15% at every event. Your next step is to sign up for the next First Steps to Success and start creating your own story.
My name is Jeff Conyers, and prior to First Steps to Success, I was a struggling business owner. I had discovered that my business account went negative $5,000, and I realized that I did not have a business plan and I needed to do something. Fast forward to 1 year after, I have now created, just by implementing the tools at First Steps to Success, over $50,000, created another business, improved my personal and business relationships. Man, it's like the story is forever changing, and it just gets better and better. I don't know about you or what you're going through, but I would highly recommend getting to First Steps to Success.
Prior to plugging into First Steps to Success, we were drowning under a mountain of debt. We were heading to divorce court. We had failing businesses and toxic relationships. Since plugging into First Steps to Success, our marriage has been restored. We have paid off over $56,000 in 11 months. We've helped our community pay off over $300,000 in 14 months. My business has grown in over 600% in 4 months. And for the first time, I could say I'm just loving life. I have great relationships. So if you are fine where you are, then this event is not for you. But if you're ready to reach your goal and to change your life, then I highly recommend that you get registered for the next event.
Hi, my name is Jill Kearns. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Prior to coming to First Steps to Success, my husband and I were struggling financially and were hurting in our relationship a lot. We needed more time together, and we just were struggling with that because of the finances. And so since plugging in, we've actually paid off over $280,000 in debt. We're completely debt-free, and more than anything else, the look on my husband's face of relief and excitement about where our future lies, and the traveling and the fun, enjoyable times that we'll get to spend together as a family is totally worth it. So if you want to have better relationships with your significant other, your children, if you have a desire to be completely debt-free and released from that bondage for whatever reason, whatever the burdens are, your next step is to get to First Steps to Success right now.
So prior to getting started to DaniJohnson.com, I was a college dropout. I was working a bottom of the barrel type job. I started plugging into her training. I've skyrocketed through the ranks of corporate America. I've tripled my income in the last 5 years. That's all fine and dandy, but it wasn't, there's a part of me that had a part missing. So I ended up using Dani's prospecting skills, and I ended up meeting the love of my life. Since then, we've paid off $32,000 of debt since October 2014. So get here now. This is the greatest thing ever. You have to see this. The skills and strategies Dani teaches are unbelievable. They totally took someone like me with no education and helped me just like multiply my efforts. So you need to be here.
What multimillionaire do you know that volunteers their time to help ordinary people like you and me? There's only one. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
You know, you got stuff that's going to happen to you, but you don't have to be a victim of what happens to you. You know, success is an interesting thing. It's not about being born in the right place. It's not about being born to the right family. It's not about being having the perfect Leave It to Beaver life, you know, with the perfect parents and the perfect schooling and that you never sent. That's not life. That's a joke. But success comes to those who take the pile of dirt that they've been assigned to and they build something beautiful out of it, including sexual harassment, rape, being molested as a child, including abuse, being violently abused, verbally abused, sexually abused, spiritually abused. Yes, there's spiritual abuse. There is something called spiritual abuse. You know, being beat up by the Bible, being controlled by it. People do that. Parents do it without even realizing they're doing that. And so, but whatever thing that you've been given, what determines whether or not you will succeed is what you do with the mess that you got. Joining me now is Samantha. From Florida. We're talking about sexual harassment and sexual abuse and how to overcome it. Welcome to the show, Samantha.
Thank you.
So what's your story?
Well, a lot of what I dealt with, I was drugged and raped multiple times in college, and afterwards, the first time it happened, he joked about it in front of me and bragged about it and told me I deserved it and I had it coming, and
why?
I could actually thank him for it.
Whoa.
And
hold on. Who was the person that did this?
well, I thought he was a friend.
Okay, so hold on. So, like, were you drinking at a party? Like, give me the scenario. What happened?
Yep, we everybody was just down at the bar drinking, and he was actually the bartender. And yeah, that next morning I woke up at his place, and my clothes weren't on, and
Oh my gosh,
he laughed in my face about it. And
what happened? What? Tell me, like, right when you woke up and you are naked and you are in some friend who's a bartender's bed. What was your first thought?
I had no idea what happened, and after a couple minutes or seconds, I honestly couldn't tell you how long, I realized what had happened, and I was just in disbelief, shocked. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like I said, I thought he was a friend.
What did you say to him?
I asked him what happened, and that's when he told me that I laid there while he did whatever he wanted with me. And he joked about how I was just out.
Wow. Had you already become sexually active by that point?
Yes.
How many years were you sexually active by that point?
About 5 years.
Wow. So you were a kid when you started having sex. Because this is college, so that means you were a teenager.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. So, and you said this happened multiple times. Why? Why would you put yourself in the same situation multiple times?
Well, kind of like he said, I felt like I deserved it. I thought sex was a way to get love and attention from guys.
And what did you find out?
I know that it's not now.
When did this stop? When did you stop getting raped?
Well, it stopped for a while. And then I met my husband, and he actually did the same thing. He would hold me down while I was crying, begging him to stop. My now ex-husband.
How did that come about, that your husband would hold you down? Were you trying to deny him of sex? Were you guys in a fight? I mean, just give me an example of one experience.
Sometimes we were fighting. Sometimes I just didn't want to. And it got to the point where I thought that's what I had to do, and I was trying to be a good wife.
So when you would deny him, then he would get upset.
And I had been open with him about my past and being raped.
Which took a lot of courage to do that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of courage. So what are you doing now? How are you living out your life now?
It's only been a couple months since the divorce was final.
How long were you married? How long were you married?
3.5 years.
Man. Do you think that becoming sexually active as a teenager and not knowing to protect that part of your life had anything to do with the result of being raped, drugged and raped?
Absolutely.
You do.
I thought that's what I had to do.
Why did you think that that's what you had to do to be accepted by guys, that you had to have sex with them?
It's what all my friends talked about growing up, and my parents never talked to me about it.
So your parents never talked to you about sex?
Nope.
So how old were you, like 15 or 16?
Yeah, when I started having sex.
Wow. So your parents were silent about sex. Your friends obviously were not silent about sex. And they encouraged you to have sex with guys in order to be accepted by guys.
Yep.
So if you had to do it all over again, tell me what you would have done different.
I would have waited, absolutely. Respected myself and my body.
Did you sleep with your husband before you guys got married?
Yeah.
So what do you recommend? I mean, because there's parents listening right now. And this is a major issue. I am always amazed. In fact, we just recently did a seminar called Hot Marriage Secrets last September. And I asked the entire room, we had a sold-out crowd. We only allowed 500 people in the room. It was amazing when I asked the question, how many of your parents did not talk to you about sex? And almost every hand in the room went up. Almost every hand in the room went up. And guess what else? Almost every hand in the room went up that was sexually active before they got married also. And regretted it. And so I don't know what gets through people's heads, that somehow they're not going to talk to their kids about sex, and that somehow their kid is going to refrain from having sex, or they're going to know the proper boundaries with it. I don't get that. So what do you say to the parents that are listening right now who don't have the courage? They're afraid to have that conversation with their daughters. What do you say to them?
They absolutely need to do it. It's not worth it to watch your kids go through all the pain and hurt of what happens from not having a simple conversation. It's scary, but your kids need you.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to talk to them about it and tell them to respect themselves.
That's right. Yep. Did you tell your parents what happened to you?
No.
Oh, Samantha. The first step in your healing, honey, is going to be going to your parents and sharing with them what has happened, and sharing with them that that you forgive them for not preparing you sexually, and that you release them, and you're not going to blame them, but that they should know that your marriage ended that's completely linked to becoming sexually active at 15 years old, and that being taught by other 15-year-olds that this was a duty, that you're supposed to do this in order to be accepted by guys. You really need to forgive them. And you can set the record straight. And you can be talking about this and making sure that kids hear your story, and they hear the real result. The real result of what happens when we are not taught to respect ourselves and respect the other person, right? Yeah. It's not just respect of ourselves, but it's also respecting the other person, and protecting your honor and protecting your purity and saving yourself for that one that I believe God has set aside for you. So, girlfriend, Samantha, this new life that you will have ahead of you if you choose to get healing, if you choose to get counseling, because it has to happen. Otherwise, you're going to repeat this in the next marriage. Otherwise, you're going to end up in that same place again and feeling so dirty and hurt and unprotected. You don't want this to follow you for the rest of your life. You want to be free. And the first step is forgiveness of every perpetrator and your parents, and get yourself into a place where somebody can guide you and walk you through the healing. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Are you being sexually harassed at work and feel helpless to do anything about it? This next segment is for you. Don't move. This is the Dani Johnson Show. Did you know you can see Dani Johnson live and in person? Go to DaniJohnson.com and find out about our next live event. First Steps to Success. Register today. Call 866-760-8255 or go to DaniJohnson.com/FSTS.
My name's Derek, and this is my wife, Michelle, and we're the Holland Sheds. We live in Covina, California, about 45 minutes from here, and we're extremely honored to be able to share our story. And when we were approached about it, I was kind of thinking, well, where do I start? Where do we start? But I'm going to start a few years back, before there was a Michelle and Derek. Actually, I was actually debt-free, and kind of going along pretty good. And then a funny thing happened. I got married, and I married into debt. And okay, we're going to do fine. We'll pay it off, and life will be good. But a funny thing happened was that didn't seem to happen. Yeah, and as a result, just kind of thinking it's going to happen, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and something always happens, and and the result is that debt doesn't get paid. So it starts becoming like an old friend. And then, unfortunately, the marriage failed, but I was able to meet Michelle, and we got married, and married into debt again. only now it's a little bit bigger, but at least the house that I had, this was during the housing boom, so use some of the equity in the house to pay that debt off, and okay, we got a clean state. Let's go forward. And but in our early days in our marriage, we had some difficulty as far as being on the same page financially, and Michelle will share a little bit more about that. And I guess it's a good point for me to hand it over to her.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Like Derek said, honestly, you guys, the first 7 years of our marriage, when I came into our marriage, he paid up my debt all. And I ran our debt up 3 different times in the first 7 years of our marriage, you guys. I would have never imagined being in that spot. Derek didn't trust me. And it finally got to a place where, my gosh, I can't keep doing this. I was pretty much told to come to this event by a good friend of mine, and it was the best thing she could have said to me because it's what I needed. I would have not have come had I not have had that charge and challenge that way. The moment I got here and we saw the war, I saw the war on debt, I said, this is it. This is our ticket. This is what's going to help us go to the next level. This is what's going to help us. You guys, we've since in 33 months, we have paid off over $159,000 worth of debt. We have money in savings. We have $300,000, $300,000 in assets, income-producing assets. We continue to plug in. I was the first one to come, but immediately afterwards, I told my husband I couldn't wait. I called him. I told him about War on Debt. He immediately said, let's do it. We had some friends that hosted a War on Debt class there right after, and we went to it, and we found $502 worth of excess spending our first month, and we revisited our budget after that, and then we thought we were just broke, living paycheck to paycheck. We were overwhelmed. We felt hopeless. I never would have thought I would lose my husband's trust, and the techniques, the strategies that Dani Johnson teaches you guys helped us save our marriage, our finances, our communication. You guys, we started out with, my favorite product is spiritual equipping, and I know Diedre has a favorite product.
We're on debt, and you think?
You guys, we kind of bought things one by one. However, you guys have a great opportunity outside that door, that table out there, where you can buy the whole DJ University curriculum, and you get almost $1,000, over $1,000 off. So you have either option, but that's a great opportunity for you. Don't let anything stop you guys. There is hope, there is life, and I'm very grateful and honored to be here. So without further delay, you guys, help us welcome back America's favorite millionaire and our mentor and coach, Dani Johnson.
Helping you become all you were meant to be. It's the Dani Johnson Show.
You have a choice to let a tragedy change you for the worse, or you can overcome the tragedy and live a fruitful, satisfying, fulfilling, successful, peaceful life. That choice is yours. We're talking about sexual abuse today. We've heard some just horrific stories. We've also heard some tips on how to overcome things that must be done. We also have seen the path that actually leads, a path, I'm not saying just the only path, but a path that leads to rape and sexual harassment. And a path that perhaps could have you more protected, more respected, and deliver more respect to another person. Joining me now is Diedre from Dallas. Diedre, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dani. There's one issue that I'd like to bring up.
Yes.
In May of this year, I have been with a retailer for over 30 years now. I had a store manager make a comment to me that I needed to go get laid so I could get in a better mood before I come back to work.
Wow. Was this a man or a woman?
This was a man.
Woo!
And I mean, I have never been on that end of it. Now, I've always had associates come to me about stuff like that, but it's never happened to me. And so then 2 days later, to top it off, he texted me to ask me if I was pregnant.
Who is this guy?
A store manager with this retailer, and he's like 35, and I'm 53.
Oh my God.
Okay, and like I said, 30 years, I've done numerous things with this company, but I've never experienced that.
Wow.
Well, I had to work every single day with him in the month of May until the Saturday before Mother's Day.
Wow.
And I say this is a God's gift to me because I had a wreck. And I've been out of work for several months, actually. I still have not went back to work.
Wow.
But I went into therapy because this just blew my mind, because at the age of 12, my grandfather molested me. And so that while I was off work and through therapy, I finally got the nerve to turn him into corporate.
Wow.
And if I can do that, anybody can get that nerve to do it, because come to find out, he has talked to 4 other ladies in my little store and said something similar.
Wow. So tell me, when he said, because some people could look at that statement and think, that's not a big deal. Yeah, so what? He said you got to get laid so you can be in a better mood. Were you in a bad mood?
No. But I had the next day off, and that was his comment to me. And retail is always stressful.
Yeah.
So, but that just floored me that he would say something like that. And then come the threats of, you don't turn me in.
Really?
You don't turn me in. Well, while I was off work, my therapist sat with me and wrote this like 5-page letter to corporate of everything that he was doing in that store.
Wow.
And
so was he making threats?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, telling me not to turn him in. When they did the investigation, he was calling me while I was still on an FMLA.
Which is what?
And Family Medical Leave Act.
Okay.
I was still off work, and he was calling me. Did you do this? Did you do this? Wow. Well, if you didn't do this, then so-and-so should have or could have.
Wow.
But during my time off, I'm thankful God allowed them to restructure.
Yeah.
And they've offered me a severance to leave the company.
Really?
Or I would have to go back and work for him because he's still employed.
Wait a second. So here you made this report, and 4 other women have also been harassed by him, and they have not fired him?
Nope. And I would have to go, if I came back to work, I would have to go back in under him.
Wow.
So I took the severance because I didn't know what else to do. But that's throwing away a 30-year career over this stupidity.
So I have a question for you. Do you think that because, we could take another woman who hears that same exact comment and laughs it off, doesn't, thinks it's funny or whatever. But obviously he knew he was guilty. You know what I mean? Because he was making threats about being turned in. So there was something behind this comment. But do you think that because you were molested at 12 by your grandfather, that had something to do with the level of sting that his comment had in you?
Yes. Yeah. And that's what my therapist had brought out.
Yeah. Because somebody else who hasn't been molested could hear that comment and laugh it off. Doesn't mean anything. Right. But how did it make you feel when you heard that comment?
it made me just feel like nothing. And like I told my therapist, I've worked hard for him to tell me something like that. You know, and I ran that store before he became the store manager, in interim of store managers. So, I mean, I'm like, you're telling me this? And we don't even have that relationship, you know, because some people just joke around.
Right.
But then when he sent me the text of,
Are you pregnant? Wow.
I'm like, well, that's none of your business, but it still made me feel inferior to him, and I knew that it would continue if I went back to work.
Wow. Well, I love your attitude about this. First of all, I love the fact that you're in therapy, and I love the fact that you are working through the healing process of being molested at 12 by your grandfather, which is like so confusing and so horrifying. And wow, I can't even imagine on how many levels how painful that is. But when people are making comments, they never know who they're talking to and how it's going to sting. Like I said, for you, it was painful and made you feel worthless. But for somebody else, they would think it's funny and laugh it off. You know, and so I'm proud of you that you're digging deep on that, and that you even saw your car accident as a blessing to pull you away from that work environment, and that it put you in counseling, and that counseling then brought this forward to be reporting it, which is really important because there does need to be a standard in places. And I just learned something from hearing from you that, you know, you hearing that comment would, you know, that other people are going to perceive that in different ways. So I'm pretty sure that's a good warning for everybody that's listening right now, me included, for sure. Because people joke around about lots of different things, but you just never know who's hearing and how it's having an impact on them and whether or not it's making them uncomfortable. So I appreciate you sharing your story today. Thank you so much for having the courage and the humility to share what has happened in your situation. And I pray that you're going to have an incredible door open up for you that you're going to love being a part of. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Don't go away. The next segment might just change your life. This is the Dani Johnson Show. More resources, more training, more results. The DaniJohnson.com Insider Membership is your ultimate success shortcut. Get exclusive access to reports, videos, audios, ebooks, cheat sheets, and other training for your personal and professional life. This is truly DaniJohnson.com's best kept secret. Become an Insider member today and get on the fast track to success.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
Put the Dani Johnson Show to work for you by advertising your product or service. The Dani Johnson Show has tens of thousands of listeners who are just like you. People who need what you're offering but just don't know it yet. Savvy business owners and marketing directors advertise on The Dani Johnson Show. To promote your products and services on The Dani Johnson Show, email John at DaniJohnson.com or call 866-760-8255.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities, and they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
Change your habits, change your future. And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Well, there you have it. You have a choice. And you know that the Dani Johnson Show is about success. It's about you defining success for you. For somebody who's been sexually abused, success for that person could be being set free. No longer, like Charlie, for example, no longer being tormented in your mind by the things of your past. No longer being tormented with these thoughts that you're useless, you're nothing, you're not wanted, you're disgusting, like all of those thoughts. So to me, and for me, to be honest with you, because I had lived through the pain of that battle in my own mind. And so success for me early on was, man, forget money, forget houses, cars, and all that junk, because none of that stuff heals the heart. None of it does. It's the kind of thing that we do to try to hide how we're really feeling inside. But the fact is that even when you got the car and the house and all the stuff, which is what society says success is, which is just complete bogus. Yes, you need a car. Yes, you need a house. But you don't need all of that to show off to try to convince people that you're successful. The bottom line is you got to deal with some of these heart issues. And what I have found traveling all over the world and dealing with hundreds of thousands of people through the last almost 30 years, and my own self, dealing with my own self, which is like the biggest project, what I can tell you that I've learned is that success is an inside job. And if you don't get in and deal with the stuff from your past, and you don't deal with those wounds that are back there, they will manifest themselves right up here. So in the case with Diedre, who just shared that story, molested at 12, didn't deal with that, right? Until there's someone that's making a sexual harassment, which was her boss at work. And man, that triggered that thing. And so fortunately now she's going through counseling and getting the help that she needs so she can heal from that and not be so easily offended or hurt by comments that could have been tongue-in-cheek. In this case, I don't think it was tongue-in-cheek. I think it was like gross, really gross. But nonetheless, we have to deal with the stuff that hinders us. I mean, you heard people talking about how it made them anxious, and then you heard even the story of the young lady whose parents never talked to her about sex. And there she is, 15, sexually active, which then leads into being drugged and raped several times and even raped by her own husband that now is divorced. So I know that today was packed with a lot of stuff, and we've all got stuff. And if you heard, 1 in 6 women are going to be have a chance of being raped in their lifetime. Listen, you never know who's walking around as a rape victim, who was molested, or who's being sexually harassed even right now. So it's really important that we are loving, kind, and we are aware of the pain and suffering that's inside of others, and that we are aware of the pain and suffering that's in us. And we have to stop allowing the pain of our past to keep us stuck back there and treating everybody as though they're going to hurt us like others have hurt us in the past. This is Dani Johnson. The website's DaniJohnson.com. I want to say thank you to UA Network and the Truth Network for broadcasting this on radio and television, as well as YouTube and the website, DaniJohnson.com. We make this available and this content available for you to be able to move your life ahead each and every day and defining success for you, you living it on your terms. This is it for us now. We'll talk to you tomorrow. God bless. Bye.
If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. This has been The Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.